I drink and I know things. That's what I do.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Drunk on Dragons, where we do our best to stay hydrated amidst all fire and blood. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, protector of the pit, master of the off season. I'm here with my co-host Magnum Mills for some of that hot D. A new season of House of Dragon is finally on the horizon, and we've got some thoughts. How's it going, my brother? Are you ready for a little summertime dragons?
And Jamie G, I am Magnum Mills, and we were talking about Will Smith before. There might have been a Men in Black thing, but I do have to admit that, honestly, Summertime by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Will Smith himself, that holds up, man, to this day. But that's not the Prince we're here to talk about. This is Drunk on Dragons, presented by Regular Dudes Watch Up. Thank you for checking us out. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, on the social media at Drunk on Dragons. Find us on the webs at regulardudeswatchstuff.com. Thank you very much for remembering that. And thank you for remembering the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. It's all we ask. If you had fun, please hit that thumb. Even if you're just flying by on your dragon, just, real quick as you go by, just click it once and you can check out the rest of the episode. Plays just fine.
Before we go any further, you do need to know that this will be a full-on spoiler show. All episodes of Game of Thrones and House of Dragons, it's all fair game for discussion, as are the works of any of George R.R. Martin. We'll give you a heads up if we get into any major book spoilers that could impact the show. But other than that, this is really it, man. This is your only warning. We warned you. Be warned. Before we get into the teaser and our season 2 discussion, let's reset the board here and see where we stand. Mills, how deep into Westeros are you these days?
Deeper than I thought I was going to be. I have rewatched all of season 1 of House of the Dragon recently. I've been working my way back through Fire and Blood. I almost did a Game of Thrones rewatch. I have still not done one since the end of the series. I have randomly peeped a couple of episodes. I have pulled clips from a couple episodes. I am close, but definitely have rewatched season 1. I feel like I've seen it 3 to 5 times overall now, at least each episode. Some a little bit more than others. I think I'm definitely in the zone, but I have, again, read all of the available books of George R.R. Martin, be that the, Fire and Blood, Princess and the Queen, all the original books, The Song of Ice and Fire, all of it. Jamie G, where are you at in terms of the Westeros extended universe, I guess?
I won't say I'm full-blown Arya just sailing west, but I am excited to come back to the realm, and you honor me, your queen, because this show is going to get good, in my opinion. I am in the process of rewatching season 1 of Dragons, trying to time it up relatively, aligned to when we're going to get season 2, so I can kind of not full on like a binge situation, but be really primed and ready. There was a lot in season 1. I think people forgot how much they did in this show in season 1. We had massive time jumps. We had different characters playing, the same character at different actors playing the same character, different ages. Everyone looked the same. All the names rhymed. There was a lot of stuff going on that you forget about. So I definitely recommend rewatching and getting ready for season 2. But no question, I think this is going to be awesome. Awesome cinematography. It's going to look great. And I'm super pumped about watching the story continue.
Totally a good call there. And let's just real quick reflect on how much we enjoyed season 1. I did not come out of Game of Thrones with happy joy feelings, to paraphrase Demolition Man. I was a little bit skeptical when the Naomi Watts pilot got canceled. This one got picked up. And I'd read Fire and Ice and Fire and Blood, and I knew enough to be like, well, you could have maybe started this story earlier. I was interested in why they took this kind of starting point and then the time jumps and everything. But ultimately, it worked for me. I thought it was well cast. It looked great. It sounded great. I know some people complain a little bit about the darkness or whatever. That is kind of what it is that day and age, the way they shoot some of this stuff. Jamie G, what were your overall thoughts on, the end of Game of Thrones and the first season of House of Dragon?
The end of Game of Thrones was so tough because I kept defending it. And then, all of a sudden, now we're seeing Starbucks cups and shit. It just got to the point where it was like, really? And it was just such a great work of art. It was at one point, my favorite television show on TV. It was impossible to replace Sopranos for me. It was such good television for so long. And then that final season happened. I'm okay with it. I wasn't like, wow, that was just like the perfect ending. And that was the proper way to wrap up such an incredible, incredible series. I haven't rewatched it since, but I kind of let it go. And I took it for what it was. And I was like, all right, well, that last season isn't going to define the entire work of art, which was the series overall. It's still a great series. It's still awesome. Then Hot D came around and House of the Dragon came around. And I was just kind of like, eh. And then, dude, it got me really excited as I started to see some of the trailers and going through and doing it on Drunk on Dragons episode by episode. I really enjoyed season 1. I really did. And I thought like it got better. They had so much to cover. I think it was probably one of the hardest things to hit because of just the scope of time that it's covering and how much stuff is going on, introducing all new characters. It was a lot, dude. And I thought they did a really good job with it. And I think it's poised the way season 1 ended to really have an action-packed, fun season 2 with all the, it's not going to be overwhelming on the dragons, but I think we're definitely going to get them. I think it's going to look fantastic. Acting is going to be good. And I think the story is going to hit a boiling point, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, and this is definitely a case of maybe be careful what you wish for. We all wanted more dragons like Game of Thrones, but the more we got, kind of the less it worked. And I think part of that was because that series didn't want to deal with them. This series is based around the dragons, but I think it could be a little bit confusing or repetitive if there are too many dragon fights. So you want to tease it, but you don't want to go a little bit too far with it. I think the first season was very well structured, all things considered.
This feels like as good a place as any to discuss any other Thrones news before we get to the trailer. Mels, anything new on the horizon? Are they brewing anything up over on HBO or Max or whatever they want to call themselves these days?
Seriously, was HBO Max? Remember, was the HBO Go? HBO Go was a thing.
Go was a thing.
Watching
now
when we watched Game of Thrones, HBO Go was a thing.
Yeah,
it's just clean your house up. That's all. Right now, there are still a bunch of possible spinoffs on the board. But before that, I just want to say there's still no release date for the Winds of Winter. That is the 6th book out of 7 expected to be in the Song of Ice and Fire saga, which is what we saw in the Game of Thrones series. We do have another series that's been greenlit by HBO, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. This is based on the Duncan Egg novels. It's been ordered 2 series, tentatively expected to debut in late 2025. It sounds like there's going to be 6 episodes. My guess is the first season will just be about the events of the Hedge Knight, the first story in here. Jamie G, there's a lot of fun potential here. It's kind of a knight and a squire traveling throughout Westeros. They'll probably get in season-long adventures that take about 6 episodes. It should be a lot of... I just can't express to you how much fun these books are. It's a little bit lighter of a tone, but obviously this is Sir Duncan the Tall becomes a very notable commander of the Kingsguard, and theoretically is the progenitor of Brienne of Tarth. They might be related somehow. How excited are you for this one, and have you read any of these short stories?
I haven't read the short stories. I am excited for it. I've researched and just kind of done a little bit of what I like to call definitive research on Google. And I have, I've definitely,
the man's Googled himself.
I've Googled myself. But the thing is with this, there's excitement around it. But for me, I want something to do with the big 4. I want to know what's going on in Winterfell with Sansa. I want to know what's going on with Snow up north. I want to know what's going on with Arya out west. So for me, I can only be so excited. But I think these will be light and fun and maybe, start to kind of relieve some of the pressure of what Game of Thrones was. And I think that's probably what they're trying to go for here.
Yeah, this is a series that could definitely work as kind of connective tissue through various spin-offs, prequels, and sequels if they do it right. It's set about 90 years before the events of Game of Thrones, but again, after the events we're seeing on House of the Dragon. So I think there's some good stuff there. There's another spin-off. It's based on the Sea Snake. Remember Corlys Velaryon here? That was called 9 Voyages. It was originally going to be a live-action thing. Apparently, it's going to be an animated show. The only thing I can think of, Jamie G, if I say pirate cartoon, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Hook,
All
Peter
right, no,
Pan.
that's not really a cartoon, but no, I was going for the Pirates of Dark Water. That was a very random cartoon that was on back when I was younger, and it never got a proper ending. But that's kind of what I get here, this idea that the sea snake is going to sail. This is how he makes his fortune, getting into all these adventures and whatnot. I think that could be a cool animated show, right? Even if it's more teenage based than strictly adult, I think there's a way that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so too. And we saw it a little bit with. I won't necessarily compare Gen V or whatever, but you could see where they could kind of do that, and maybe it'll work. So again, it's not necessarily what I expected, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned it before. The Jon Snow led sequel, tentatively titled Snow, I guess, is not dead or anything, but it doesn't sound like there's been any movement recently. My guess is this is a back pocket joint. They're going to see how everything else works out. Are you really that excited to see about Jon Snow in the North? And could that work, or does then he have to go, all right, what's Arya doing? What's Sansa doing? Can it just be Jon Snow in the north of the Wall, or would you need it to be more all-encompassing than that?
I think it could be, but I also think that they by doing that, you almost have to have some of those other ones teed up and ready, because you can tease it significantly and kind of bring that world back together a little bit. And I think that's cool.
But you gotta have Thorman, you gotta have Ghost, or go the fuck home. That's what I'm saying.
You definitely have to have that. You want more from how it was left, Game of Thrones, and I think a way to do it is to go check out Snow, and then have some of the plot line of the Snow sequel bleed into maybe what Arya's doing, and then slowly over the course of this series, you can start bringing in some of these other characters from Game of Thrones. Who knows, dude? Maybe somebody's coming after Bran. Like, maybe it's not. He's just going to be king forever. Like, I don't know, man. I like the concept of maybe they do something different with it. I don't know that anyone's just like, yeah, I'm okay with just letting it be there forever.
See, I want to go way different. Like, you fast forward 30 years and Jon Snow is like by himself on like an assassination mission. He's like almost like Ethan Hunt in the Mission Impossible series or something. He's got to like climb all these mountains and do all this crazy stuff to like try and assassinate somebody or save the wildlings or something like that. I think that could be cool. I don't want to go back into the whole game. I don't want a straight sequel. If they're going to do Jon Snow, keep it north of the Wall. Maybe you could have a character or two appear, but I would want it to be like a full-on kind of crossover kind of deal. I think that would be too much too soon. If you're going to do that, wait 10, 20 years, something like that. And there is one other live action sequel that's basically being considered, and it's a House of the Dragon prequel I alluded to before. This is originally when Aegon the Conqueror came to Westeros and conquered 6 of the 7 kingdoms. He did not initially bring Dorne in, but that's a story for another day. JBG, if I remember right, this was always kind of the plan that they would do dragons and then maybe set this up as the prequel. Are you cool with this, or does it sound a little bit running the risk of repeating what we're seeing here on House of the Dragon with Targaryens fighting Targaryens a little bit at some point?
I think it runs the risk, but it depends on where they go with this. And it depends, you know what I mean? I think it might be too much dragon in a row, but
yeah, that's a concern. It's just too similar. It's just this. And again, a lot of the people we're watching now are named after the people in that story.
right.
It's going to be hard for it not to feel repetitive a little bit. There are some very cool moments that I remember from the book, but I would like to see it, but I don't know if I would feel great if it came out right on top of this, unless they designed the stories to flow together maybe, or something like that somehow.
That could be cool is just kind of a continuation. Then maybe say House of the Dragon only gets 3 seasons or 4, and then it just flows right into something else for another 2 or 3. I guess I could probably live with that. 6 total seasons or something between the 2. Maybe.
Yeah. I think we should maybe dive a little bit more in depth to that.
Let's do it, man. I think it's time to top off our goblets here, and let's take a run at season 2. Mills, what's the word on the King's Road?
All right, Jamie G. Apparently, season 2 is going to have 8 episodes. It will be debuting sometime in June. Do you like the fact that it's going to be a summer show instead of a fall show? Now it will be, going against the boys instead of football season. Which do you prefer?
I prefer summer, I guess, just because Sunday night football, it's tough for me to get away
It
from
was
that.
rough. It was a
So
little rough sometimes to try to like sneak it in at halftime. And
I ended up not watching it live. I think ultimately it'll be better for their numbers, hopefully. But yeah, I think I probably like it better over the summer here. Although it feels like a fall show, but I do think I kind of like it for summer.
why is it a fall show? Because it makes you feel warm. So all the
Yeah,
fire.
it does. I don't know. It just has that feel to it.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. The original Game of Thrones kind of moved all over the schedule, so there's it can be wherever it wants, I guess. How about this? There's 8 episodes this time. There were 10 in season 1. Does that bother you at all?
Having 10, if it really only needed to be 7 or 8, okay. But if you have 8 and it's like, dude, we really should have, that really needed to be 10, that's where I'm going to be upset.
I think that's fair. You don't want them to stretch it out too much. I think 8 will be fine. They had the big time jumps in the first season, so I think they needed a little bit. They needed a little bit of room to really build out the characters. I'm excited about that. And while we don't have an official pickup for season 3 or season 4, apparently there are production plans that are going on to that respect. So I think that was the original plan. It was going to be maybe a 4-season joint, Jamie G. Do you like that? Does it make it better or worse if it flows right into a sequel or a prequel?
Yeah, I think it works. I think it would work if it's, again, if they're going to go with more of the Targaryen storyline, then I think it kind of needs to flow into it, and I'm okay with that. Again, I think both you and we've talked about it a little bit on various things. I'm more of a fan of ending it a season early than a season late. So I'd rather them, instead of trying to stretch this, I think we kind of said it. 4 seems to kind of, from what we know of the books and stuff, seems to probably be the right number, right?
Yeah, I feel very comfortable with this being a 4, even if the remaining seasons are all 8 episodes. I think that's right in the wheelhouse.
Well, I think that's enough tailgating here. It's time for the main event. The initial season 2 teaser has been out for a while now, but Mills, walk us through it.
Well, I guess, Jamie G, you got to go right back to the end of season 1. Rhaenyra gets the news that her son has died. We get the shot of her staring at what is Storm's End. There will be blood and fire, right? I think that's about what we're saying here.
Yeah, dude. And I love this because, she was very clear about wanting to not be the one that starts the war, but it's almost like they forced her hand here, because remember, she still had till the next day to really decide and tell, Hightowers what she was going to do. And this happened that night as she was trying to gauge which allies were with her before she determined whether or not she wants to go to war. So I really like the fact that she didn't act first in this and start the war, despite what, her husband wanted her to do. So I really liked, Damon. I really like that. That's how it ended up kind of forcing her hand, and we'll see how she handles it heading into season 2.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way they played again at the end of season 1 with the whole thing where Viserys talks to Alicent, and he thinks he's talking to Rhaenyra about, Aegon the Conqueror and the thing and the threat coming from the north and everything. And that's what she takes as, Aegon should be the king. So they do make it at least a little bit nebulous in that, no one is kind of responsible, right? They try to make it so you can root for either side, although it feels like, we're both kind of on the Team Black here for what it's worth. But how about Aegon? Like the first time we saw him grown, remember he was literally kind of wanking it out of a window. We see him here. He seems that he might actually enjoy being the king. Although remember at one point him screaming like, "I don't even want to be the king. I don't want anything. Just send me away." He might be getting into this, right?
Well, power has a way of changing people, and I think you can see him enjoying it for all the wrong reasons. And I think that's what's probably the most interesting thing about him.
Yeah, and then we get a shot at Daemon. He's going to war. We come back to that. You see the black and red Targaryen flag flying over an army. You get the Hightower soldiers. They're the Greens. You know, they're all about to do the thing. You get Otto Hightower staring into a fire. And Alicent warned somebody that many will die. I'm excited to see Otto, but more or less, I mean, pretty generic HBO trailer stuff, right? It could be basically anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to look. They're not going to give it away here. But I'll tell you, they do enough to pique my interest. I'll tell you that much. I mean, they do enough to get me pretty excited about it, and looking forward to it. So it did enough to wet my whistle for the time being.
And that's really what they're looking to do. Then we see
Yeah.
a small group of rowboats land on a beach, and Jamie G, your guy, Kristen Cole. I don't know why he's your guy, but he's your guy now. He swings a sword down, pretty clear he's beheading somebody. Jamie G, if Westeros had OnlyFans, would Kristen Cole be the leading earner?
For
He
men, I
feels like
think he
he'd be
would.
that dude, right? He feels like he'd be that dude.
Yeah, I think he would on the men's side for sure.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they might not even allow the ladies on in
That's
Westeros.
true.
And then we see a crowned Aegon II sitting on the throne. A bunch of quick shots. We see a crowned Rhaenyra. She's sitting at the painted table, which they have lit up with fire in this, which is an upgrade from the original series. Alicent blows out a candle or light. We see a dragon fly out over the water towards land. You see a bunch of soldiers on horseback. You see some people marching forward. Looks like they might be preparing for a siege. And then you see Rhaenyra addressing Daemon and Rhaenys at the painted table there on Dragonstone. Jamie G, any thoughts at this point? Again, pretty standard stuff. Nothing new really being shown here, but it all looks cool.
Yeah, it all looks cool. It's about what you expect, but I do think again, they're doing enough, but without kind of giving the farm away, which is what they should be doing. In all honesty, I do expect the next trailer, as we get a little closer to the release date, to be, a bit more with actual substance here, where you can really kind of be like, wow, this is going to be something. So I'm excited for that. But that's, to be frank, I wouldn't want them doing it where we're getting everything here, 3-4 months out before the show airs.
Oh God, no! I just want to tease. I mean, that's really this. Oh, we're even really getting here like small things. You see David not in his armor, swing his sword down. The sea snake's there. He's staring at stuff. Uh, Aemon's there, like looking. You're man in the eye patch, Aemon. I feel like he's your guy, just staring at the empty Iron Throne. He's jealous of Aegon the Second. You got people marching to the north. We know we're going to get a little bit of action in the north this year where we did not let cheer. So we see some snow there. Alicent's looking out over the water. Rhaenyra's staring at her dragon. She's got stuff in the background. What do you think that scene is? It's a big one in the trailer where we see two dragons on the beach facing each other. We know one is Rhaenyra and her dragon. Who do you think the other one is?
Oh man, this is.
I don't think it's Aemon and Vagar because the dragon isn't big enough. So I'm a little bit curious.
Yeah, I don't know if it's somebody, a new dragon that we're not aware of, or somebody. I think it's something there's a couple of dragons that are unclaimed, so it wouldn't surprise me if they get somebody to, they claim one and get a new rider on there. Not sure, but excited to find out.
Rhaenyra's dragon, Cyrax. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you like Cyrax as the name of a dragon? I feel it's only a 5. I think it could be cooler.
Yeah, Cyrax is okay. If it had 3 X's, it would be a 7, but with the 1 X, I'm giving it a.
It feels like an album name for a metal band from the 1980s.
For sure, Cyrax.
Anyways, a couple other shots. You see Aegon kind of looking up. There's soldiers on horseback making their way through a city. I couldn't tell exactly what city it was. Again, more soldiers. There's a battle. Dragon breathing fire on the battle. And then we hear Rhaenys warn Rhaenyra about the consequences of dragons fighting dragons. Jamie G, the Dance of Dragons, we've kind of heard of this. Are you excited for Dragon on Dragon combat? We only saw the little bit at the end of season 1, and obviously, Vagar kind of outclassed. poor Luke
You
there.
just, I mean, just bit him in half, and you see the sheer size of that and why that's, so powerful. I'm excited about it. I thought there was some awesome shots. We kind of had this scene where it was rainy and windy, and then the storm breaks, and that's when you get the big bite, if you will. I'm excited about it. I think that could be cool, but I'm excited about not just in air, but just breathing fire at each other too, and how that looks, and how that. I think there's stuff that they can do that they haven't necessarily done yet, and I'm excited about that. And I'm excited that they teased it a lot at the end of season 1. We have more dragons, therefore we can win. And you saw some of the hesitation on Rhaenyra's side, so excited to see how that develops. But I think there's no doubt we're going to get some of it.
Yeah, I mean, after that, it's pretty much people on Dragonback. You got Bela, you got Aemon, you got Rhaenyra, you have fights in the city, you have Daemon in full armor, you have explosions. I mean, it looks like maybe somebody's trying to assassinate someone in a bedroom, and at the very end, just a huge dragon flies over the group of soldiers. It's hard to pick anything up in particular from this, but again, it's basically being like, look, we have intrigue, we have dragons, we have stuff going on. You should check it out. And if that was the job, mission accomplished, I guess. I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah, I'd say they nailed it. Pretty excited about it. I think there's going to be more, cutthroat, more sabotage.
Right, and I also can't comment. Like, I have read the books, and we were not trying to give out like huge book spoilers or anything here, so I could comment maybe a little bit further on some specifics, but I'm choosing not to here because it'll be fun to experience them and then talk about it after. That's what we have Drunk on Dragons.
We will talk about it all summer long, and there's really not a good way to do predictions here. So instead, I say, you know what? Let's finish up the show by talking about what we're hoping to get instead of predictions, and what we're most looking forward to in the new season. Mills, what is just one thing you're fired up about?
The score, the look. This is a top-notch show as far as how it looks and sounds. It's always awesome. It's always exciting. It's well done. It's well produced. I think that just sets the bar a little bit high up front, so then they have to nail it, obviously, with what actually comes in the script, what we see on the screen, especially the special effects and everything. But I am just excited to. I hated the fact that they used the Game of Thrones theme song over again. I wish they would have come up with something better, but I'm not going to lie. I do get a little bit excited when I hear the intro with the Game of Thrones theme song, even if it is the, House of the Dragon intro instead of the original Game of Thrones intros. Jamie G, what's one thing you're kind of looking forward to or hoping for from the season?
I certainly second that, Mills, in terms of how it looks and the score behind that. And just, I'll add one thing with that intro. I hope they start adding things as the blood flows. I think that would be really cool. I wouldn't even mind. I know we saw it with Game of Thrones. I loved it so much. I wouldn't mind if they do it again here. Outside of that, I'm excited about seeing kind of the balance between how Otto and Allison control, and if they're able to control Aegon as he embarks on sitting on that throne and seems to be liking it. Maybe they bit off more than they can chew there, and their plan backfires on them a little bit. I'm excited to see that twist specifically with how he handles it, and is he the one that starts to kind of, play the game, so to speak.
I love that, and I think that's the key. You're going to want to see some dragon action, but you want to space it out. And the way you do that is with some of this backstabbing, with some of the especially inter-family politics. You can obviously pick one side on each of the global scales, but that's one thing we liked about Game of Thrones. It wasn't even about house versus house. It was about the inner house politics within the house itself. And I think there's a lot of good stuff that they can mine there, again, without, getting into a lot of spoilers here. I would say just try to differentiate the characters a little bit. You have a lot of characters that have names that sound the same, with hair that's the same color, that kind of thing. Try to just dress them up a little bit different, do whatever you can. Just make it a little bit easier to follow for the average viewer. I think that would help a little bit. One little tweaks.
Yeah, and especially if we're going to have, the other thing I'll say here is with 8 episodes, let's make sure that we're not, either diving into storylines that there's no way we're going to finish, or B, rushing through stuff. 8's a tricky number. I want to make sure they get that right. So that's probably one of the most critical things I can say here is we got to make sure we get the 8 number right, There's a lot happening here. If it's just going to be a giant tease for season 3 and then all the pressure's on season 3 to like make all that stuff happen, I don't know that I'm going to love that. I'd like to see some things, go down here, so to speak. And I don't want to feel like, man, we should have had another episode or two. That's my only concern.
I'll second what you're saying in that if there's going to be another full year and a half plus between seasons, then yeah, they have to land that a little more. If it's going to be more of a natural cycle, where say, we're going to get season 3 in January or something, I am okay with that. And I think it also matters if they know what their landing cycle is, if they know it's going to be, all right, we're doing season 3 and 4, they each have 8, so we have 24 more or whatever, and that allows them to parcel out and pace the story correctly. I think that would be best. So, we both kind of talked about it. I think you could put a spinoff in there or whatever, but I think 3 to 4 seasons is optimal, and hopefully they're already, planning for that and trying to make the story flow as well as they can.
100%. Well, our flagons here are empty and our dragons are sleepy. So I think that does it for this episode of Drunk on Dragons. Thanks for checking out our show, and we hope you're as excited for season 2 as we are. Don't you worry. We'll be in touch with you leading off to the season as we kick off, and then, of course, all the way through the season. You can find us at Drunk on Dragons. Get at us. Let us know what you're excited about. Let us know if we missed something. You can slide in them DMs any day, like Slip and Slide Records, and we'll respond. Mills, go ahead and remind everybody where they can find us.
But, dude, is it too late to change the name of the show to Flagons and Dragons? Like, that just sounds
not a bad one.
Really cool. I think it's really good. I think that's a good idea, but you at least have had one good idea so far because you just checked out Drunk on Dragons, presented by Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Thank you very much for checking this out. But it's on social media at Drunk on Dragons, on the interwebs at regulardudeswatchstuff.com. Thank you very much for remembering that. And thank you for remembering the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. All we ask is if you had fun, please remember that thumb.
Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Drunk on Dragons. You don't have to drink to enjoy it, but it probably helps. And if you're gonna drink, it might as well be on a dragon.
Flagons and Dragons.
Flagons and Dragons is a great name, dude.
That is better. That is actually better.
It's really good, dude.